Hey guys, COHC here, and I am back with another reaction video. And yes, one of my buddies, the Big Rob, requested me to check out this video called "It Has No Face," and it's an SFM Creepypasta. And when I looked at the thumbnail, it's a Team Fortress SFM animation. It's been a while since I did a reaction video to a Team Fortress video, and thought I should do one. So yeah, I never actually seen this before. Yeah, it's only 30 minutes long, so we might be here for a while. So let's go ahead and get this started in 3, 2, 1, click. And hold on, let me turn on the volume down real quick. It has no face. And I bet this has to do with
Everyone has tales about the strange and bizarre. My story is about how my ski mask saved my life, and continues to save my life to this very day.
Really?
Late in December, I was traveling north from California to my home state of Oregon. Nothing fancy, I was just going to visit
lives in
family
Oregon.
for the holidays. On my way
I've been to
there
Oregon,
was a small
so
snowstorm. Nothing awful, just
it really isn't that bad.
a lot of snow falling at once. I wasn't worried about the small increase of snow at first, considering I had snow tires installed before I started my journey home.
So they could easily go through snow, huh?
Get a little hesitant to drive when the snow started to really come down. The large amount of falling snow, coupled with the large amount of already littering the ground as I traveled higher into the mountains, caused me to
litter the ground, huh?
finding a place to stay for the night.
Mm-hmm.
I figured I could get some sleep while the storm passed over. That and the fact that I could give my car's heater a break before it would decide to burst into flames, or worse.
Yeah, a car could explode if the heater was on too loud, or
I scanned
too
as much
fast,
of the landscape as I could, but
or too long.
There were no buildings in the immediate area. The only other option I had for my predicament was to keep driving and hope there was a town or exit nearby that I could take in order to escape from the storm.
Yeah.
I must have been driving for at least an hour before I saw a sign up ahead indicating how far the closest city was.
And what did the sign look like?
My heart sank a little when I read 162 miles as it flew
to
by my
Fort?
windshield and vanished into the snowy night.
Of course, this does have to do with Team Fortress.
The snow was beating against my windshield, and I knew I wasn't going to last 162 minutes, let alone miles. The digital clock on my radio read 1:21 a.m.
1:21 a.m.?
The next turnoff I saw, I would take and hope I could find a neighborhood that will produce.
Are you just gonna drive all night?
In my current endeavor. My thought process was either freeze to death in my car or stay the night at some random person's house. Weighing the two options in my head, I picked the only thing a sane person
it could be freezing if you're stuck in a car.
Another 30 minutes flew by and still no luck finding a place to pull off. Just when I was starting to lose hope, I saw a turnoff in the distance. A small shade started to make its way closer into my headlights. And on further inspection, it was revealed to me that there were 2 wooden poles that possibly belonged to a fence.
Really?
When I turned onto the road between the 2 wooden poles, the ground beneath felt rocky and rough, like I was traveling on gravel.
Yeah, the mountains could be rough when you drive through them.
A small cabin creep into my field of view. The lights in the cabin were off, but the place seemed to be in fairly good shape. I parked my car under a tall, wild-looking tree that took residence on the cabin's front lawn. Getting out of my car, I immediately grabbed my extra jacket and put it on. Also,
you have an extra jacket, huh?
Ski mask I wore around my neck up over my ears to keep heat around my face. After putting my cap snug on my head, I trudged up to the cabin. As I traveled through the cold, windy night up to what I felt was my salvation, I immediately regretted not getting any gloves from my hands.
Don't know what that word is.
Despite the irritation I had with my hands, my face and the rest of my body were comfortably warm, so I didn't have much room to complain.
As long as you're safe in your jacket.
I stuffed my pockets and continued my journey across the cabin's lawn. As I made my way to the door, I noticed something a bit odd.
And what is
There was
that?
no indication of
Slenderman?
life anywhere. There wasn't even a car in the front yard. Taking my right hand out of my pocket, I knocked 3 times.
I wouldn't go
patiently
in
before
there.
saying,
It could be
"Hello?
haunted.
Is anybody there?
Get out of here.
I'm sorry to bother you so late at night, but I need a place to stay for a few hours."
Yep, he sure does.
Nothing answered my plea for help. So I knocked 3 more times on the door, hitting my knuckles harder against the aged wood of the entrance.
Ugh.
"Hello?" I said, again a little louder before continuing with,
What if the man with no
"I'm
face
not here to rob
appears?
you or anything. I just need a place to stay for the rest of the night. I promise I will be gone by sunrise." As I finished my last sentence, I touched the ornate metal door handle.
Yeah, you might
noticing
just
that
want
the
to
door
open
seemed
it.
to be unlocked. I said in a loud voice, "I'm coming in now. If there's anybody in there, please, please let me know." I pressed the metal lever down,
Oh, I can see
finding
some
it a
light.
bit odd that the door was unlocked, and opened the door with little resistance on the other end, closing it behind me with about the same resistance despite the fact the door was really, really old.
Huh.
Looking around the area, I noticed the cabin had 5 rooms, the living room, which was the largest, a small kitchen, an even smaller washroom, and what I assumed were 2 small bedrooms in the back.
Huh.
No lights were on inside this cozy cabin, making it almost perfectly dark, if my eyes weren't already adjusted to the
I
darkness
wonder if
from
it's
outside.
abandoned.
I decided the best thing to do would be to search for a light switch, so I took out
I've
my
been
phone and turned
thinking
on
that
the
I should
flashlight
continue
app to
on
scan the
reacting
walls.
to the My Little Pony
Of course, my scan produced no
creepypastas.
results, however, and at the risk of losing precious battery power on my phone, I decided the best option would be to turn off the light and put my phone on airplane mode.
Yeah, so that
Before
you
turning off my
won't get
light, I
any
studied the
calls.
paintings hanging on the wall that I glossed over in the initial scan. Each painting that crossed my sight was just typical landscapes of harbors, things like that. There was a painting that looked like a fox hunter.
Sorry, I get Lavano
something
updates
similar,
these days.
but other than that, it was just typical paintings you would see hanging on the walls around an elderly person's home. There was one painting, however, that did catch my attention. The painting was
What is
small
that?
and consisted of what looked like 2 adults, a mother, father, a teenage girl, and a small child.
Really?
The family captured in that painting were wearing what looked like Victorian-era clothing. I'm only guessing about the clothes. I mean, they could have been from the 1800s or early 20th century. The point is
The
that
earliest
the
20th
clothing was
century.
very ornate and regal. There's something really disturbing about the image, though.
And what was
The
that?
faces of each member of the family appeared as if they were smoothed over with clay. It's kind of hard to describe, I know, but the 3 family members looked like they had no facial features. By no facial features,
Huh, so
I
they
mean,
have no faces, huh?
instead of the normal ones that you and I have, the 3 people in the painting had grooves of smooth flesh where normally you would have eyes or a nose, mouth.
Mm-hmm.
The only person in the painting that didn't possess
That's
an
how
open
a person
face was
is
the teenage
created.
girl, which appeared to be normal for a teenage girl. In fact, she was actually quite breathtaking.
Hmm.
I pulled myself away from the painting to take a glance at my phone for the first time. My phone indicated that it was past 2 o'clock in the morning,
Yep,
so
you should
I
probably
decided to go back to the room and
get to
check
bed.
to see if it was occupied. To my relief, the room was vacant. Besides a medium-sized bed, ornate dresser, and a nightstand, there wasn't much to go
Yeah,
by.
there's a lot of room in that
The
bedroom.
walls were blank, apart
I wish I
more
had a room like that.
sappy paintings to give it a little more atmosphere, I suppose. Although there was no indication of a heating system, besides a chimney, the rooms were bearable enough that I figured I could just bundle up in my clothes under the covers in order to stay warm. I was only
Yeah,
going to be
you
there
should
for a few
probably
hours anyway,
do
so
that.
there wasn't much point in starting a fire, plus the people who owned the cabin would be back tonight considering how late it was. I hopped into the worn-out bed, facing the open door next to the other door, which I assumed was a closet, and pulled my ski mask completely up over my face to make sure my head would stay nice and warm for the rest of my stay.
Yep.
Pulling the fabric of my mask down slightly, I set the alarm on my phone for 4:30 a.m. and put it back down on
4:30,
the
huh?
nightstand.
So you're
I
just
covered
gonna
my
have to
face
sleep
again
for
and bundled up
3.5
tightly with the
hours.
sheets, closing my eyes and letting dreamland take me away until I woke up after what only felt like minutes,
Wait, huh?
to the sound of scratching.
Scratching?
My body froze as I heard the noise over and over again, softly coming from the closed door. I tried to relax, thinking that all the noises that I heard was just probably a rat or some other animal that was spending the night in the closet.
Yeah,
while
rats could
the
make that
cabin's owners
noise
were
even if
away.
they're running around the place.
Quietly, I shifted onto my back, pulling my ski mask down slightly so a little slit appeared, giving me a small window to look out at what was there. I laid on the bed, stiff as a board, with my cap and my mask covering my face in such a way that it acted almost like a visor,
Is it the man with no
giving
face?
me a small peek at what was in the darkness. Thankfully, my eyes were still adjusted to the dark, which gave me a small amount of reassurance as I continued looking in the direction of the scratching noise.
Yeah, whoa.
The scratching
not good.
continued, louder and louder for what seemed like minutes until, just like that, it stopped.
Oh, maybe he left.
Silence filled the room again, but it wasn't a safe kind of silence. The deafening silence in the room was foreboding, ominous sort of silence.
They
The
did
vacuum
say
of
it's a
sound in the air was
creepypasta.
the type of silence that happens in a movie just
I
before
wonder what
something jumps out at you.
the creepypasta monster in
Just when I
this
began
looks
to calm
like.
myself down,
Hope it's not a
the
scarecrow.
doorknob to the closet began to jiggle and turn very slightly. My heart was racing out of my chest as I saw and heard that knob turn, and every inch of my body wanted to just bolt out of the bed and out of that cabin before whatever was on the other side of that door
Oh
got
man,
out.
I don't like this. It's getting creepier and
I
creepier.
laid perfectly still on the bed, despite the fact that I had a cocktail of adrenaline, nerves, and instincts telling me to get the hell out of there.
Oh
My
really?
eyes widened as the door to the closet opened slightly, and I saw what looked like a dried head attached to an elongated neck pop out of the opening,
Uh-oh. This doesn't
accompanied
look...
by a skeletal body.
Oh wow.
The thing that was emerging from the closet
He seems
crawled
friendly,
on all
but...
fours out of the doorway and slowly
Uh-oh.
made its way to the
Maybe
bed
not.
that I was sleeping in. I had never been more frightened in my whole entire life as the thing stood up, almost touching the ceiling of the cabin, and looking down in my direction.
This...
The creature stood there studying
Does
me
it have a
as
face?
I peeked through the thin slits in my mask. Pure terror swirling around in
Ugh.
my mind as I glanced up at the body of the creature.
Oh
Looking at the
jeez.
creature's skeletal face, I noticed that it had no eyes within its head, which led me to believe that
That is...
it couldn't even see me even though I could see it.
Yeah,
Just when
even
the
if you have
idea of
no
not
eyes,
being
you
able to
couldn't
see me
see
started to
anything.
give me a little comfort, the creature began to speak. Strange. The creature whispered softly as it
What?
continued to watch me, and then spoke again.
It had no fear of me.
It continued
Hear
to
me?
say in a hoarse tone as it began to breathe loudly, continuing to look at me and gripping down on the edge of my bed. Feeling the creature's bony hand touch the edge of my bed caused my brain to go into complete panic mode. The only thing that stopped me
Yeah,
from
I'd
jumping
feel the
up
same
was
way
the
if
thought that maybe the
some
creature
type of
believed I was
skeleton
dead
tried to
or asleep
creep
and
upon
wouldn't
me.
attack.
How can it not fear? How can it not fear me?
Then
what is it
said through
doing?
clenched teeth before loudly gasping and suddenly pulling back with its mouth open in an expression that
Uh-oh.
almost resembled
Is it like
fear.
gonna explode?
It has no face.
The thing whispered to itself as it continued to back
It
away.
has no face?
It has no face.
The creature said again, but this time louder than before and slightly more unnerved.
Unnerved, huh?
No face.
The creature shouted as it backed off further away from the bed. I heard the
Like,
thing breathing
really
loudly
far away
and
from the
quickly
bed?
before calming down and slowly returning to the side of the bed.
You better not try to scare him. And don't scare me.
Leaning over me slowly, the creature continued to look at me before softly beginning to breathe on my face. I could smell its foul breath even through my mask. The smell was so powerful that it took all my strength not to gag as a reflex to the awful stench.
Yeah, I would not want to
I
gag
made the
if
choice
he
to
was
keep
close to me.
motionless, and did not do or say anything that would compromise whatever illusion I was giving the thing
Is he gonna get in
that
bed with
was
him?
currently studying me. The creature breathed on me again, softly. The stench I smelled from its breath could only be described as rotten, which only
Rotten
strengthened
eggs.
my resolve to stay perfectly motionless.
Strange.
The thing whispered at me again,
Oh
bringing
man.
close to me to the point where I could see and smell its decaying flesh.
You.
The creature slowly reached for me,
Don't try to scare him.
its hand moving slowly towards my face. With every inch that decaying hand moved, I couldn't help but feel my situation becoming more and more dire.
Don't try to scare
I thought
him.
that this was it for me.
He'd be really mad
The
at you.
creature would kill me tonight, or take me away and torture me, then kill me, and no one would know what happened to me. No one would
Yeah, I
find
have
my
no
body out
idea.
there,
Yeah.
and no one would know my story. I could feel tears start to well up in my eyes as I thought of everyone I ever loved being yanked away from me in this one very moment.
In that storm? Wow.
No face. No face. No face.
I gotta say, this
The
kind of
creature
reminds me
softly
of
chanted as its
A
hand
Christmas Carol
crept ever
when
closer to my face. I could
Marley
hear the
comes see
anguish in the creature's
Scrooge.
voice as it continued chanting over and over as it reached for me. As its long, bony hand crept only centimeters away from my face, I braced myself for the worst, making the last thoughts I would ever have about the people I loved.
Really?
Just as I thought my life was all over, a sudden loud noise erupted from
Uh-oh.
the room, filling the ear closest to the nightstand.
Is it
with
the
a
alarm?
flood of beeps and causing the creature to scream and jump back. As the noise continued,
Is it the alarm?
creature threw itself back against the wall, shrieking uncontrollably
Is it already
in
morning?
terror as it stumbled back towards the closet. I was dumbstruck for a second, before the thought came to me that I had set my alarm at 4:30, which must have been the source of all the noise.
Yeah.
I jumped out of the bed, grabbed my phone, and pointed the lit-up screen at the monster as the alarm continued to ring loudly.
Yeah,
The
keep
loud
on doing
ringing
that.
caused the monster to shriek even more in confusion and terror as it retreated quicker as I approached. Seeing my chance, I
Look at it,
activated my
it's
phone's
naked.
flashlight and put it on strobe in order to disorientate the monster further.
No
It's like
face.
flashing.
No face. No face. No face.
The creature shrieked at
Is
me
the
as it
creature
withdrew
trying
the
to
safety
tell
of the
him
closet.
that there's gonna be a
I
creature with
continued
no
to shine my light
face?
on the creature.
Well,
And for
might
the added
get
effect,
him.
I started playing loud music as I continued to jab my phone into the monster's direction like a lion tamer. The
So
thing
you can
threw
tame a
itself into
lion.
the dark recesses of the closet, and I shoved the door back, locking it after I slammed it closed.
Yeah, you better lock that thing
The
shut.
shrieks coming from the monster started to get fainter and fainter, like it was almost retreating deeper into the house.
No face. No face. No face.
I could
Is
hear
he
the
gonna,
creature
like,
yell
repeat
out as
that
it got
over and
further
over
further
again?
away. After hearing the last retreating words of the thing that terrified me the whole night, I bolted from the cabin at breakneck speed, jumping into my car and floored it off the gravel road.
Yeah. Yeah, you better
I was
run.
shaking all over as I drove. And when I pulled my ski mask further down to expose my skin, I was as white as the snow that littered the ground.
Yeah.
I was so frightened by the whole experience. As soon as I pulled into the first town I saw, I parked my car and
Finally.
began to sob uncontrollably for a while. The experience that I had just been through would scar me for life. But as I wept in my car,
Yeah,
in
I'd
the
be
parking
scarred
lot,
for life
at the
if
convenience
a
store,
creature
I
with
couldn't
no
help but
face
start
comes near
to laugh a
me.
little in between my fits of crying. I got through my ordeal without so much as a scratch on me. Well, aside from the mental scratches, I was fine. I was alive, and I didn't have to worry anymore.
Yeah, you don't have to worry anymore now
After I
that the
finished with
monster
my
is
whole
gone.
episode of crying and laughing like an insane person, I entered the store, sniffling and wiping away the rest of my emotions. As I continued into the store, the cashier
And there's
looked up
more
at
Team
me
Fortress
and traced
characters.
my direction with his eyes before continuing with what he was doing. The store was mostly empty. Aside from an elderly couple, I was the only customer in there. Rough night?
So,
The cashier said with
you're
one
the only
eyebrow cocked
person
up
that's in
while
the store,
he
huh?
scanned my items. You have no idea, I said, looking out of the window at the sun breaking over
What
the
you just
horizon.
saw?
I noticed you looked a bit upset when you came in. What happened? You get dumped or something? He said,
No.
looking up at me as the register computed how much I owed him.
Don't really know.
Looking at the young man
It was
behind the
basically a
register,
monster.
he seemed to be a little younger than I was, although that didn't say much because even though I'm 22, I do look younger than my actual age. I looked at the cashier's name tag for a second before feeling that I had nothing to lose by telling him about the night I just had.
Yep, that whole
The small name
skeleton.
on his ID read Evan.
Huh.
And as I finished telling him my frightening
Evan,
tale,
huh?
something odd happened. I expected him to burst out laughing or say that I was the best liar he had ever talked to. Instead of doing any of that,
He was
Evan just
shocked.
stood there. His skin, milk white as he stared at me with an expression so horrified, he gave me the impression that he had just witnessed something get run over by a train or something.
Oh boy.
Evan, you alright? I said, looking into his eyes while we both just stood there,
Is he like in a faint?
silently. What? Oh, yeah, it's just, Evan began to say before his thoughts trailed off due to a new feeling that we were both being watched. I began
he's
to feel
being
eyes
watched
burn into
too,
the back
huh?
of my head before turning around to see the old
What the?
couple I glanced
Oh.
at when I entered the store beforehand. The old couple possessed the same horrified
So they're
expression
the old
that Evan
couple,
had
huh?
just a few seconds ago.
I am really sorry about that. Getting my camera cut off. Saying that OBS needs to be upgraded. And yeah, it is true. I do need to upgrade it. So yeah, let's go ahead and continue in 3, 2, 1, go.
They must have heard the whole story I told. After a few moments of silence,
So
the old
you
couple
guys are
asked me what I knew
surprised?
about the cabin, which I couldn't really say.
He knows
I
about the
gave him the
cabin.
best description I could about what I saw. The couple proceeded to tell me about the cabin, how long it had been there, and that it was haunted.
Yeah, that cabin is
The
haunted.
place was condemned and left to rot away after so many people disappeared
And I
there.
bet that creature with the no
They told me that
face
no one
comes.
who ever stayed in that cabin has ever been seen alive again. If they've ever been
Does
seen
that
at
mean
all after their visit.
that someone dies there?
One of my best friends stayed the night in that cabin, Evan said quietly as he stared off into the distance, but continued his thoughts with, I refused to go into the cabin. I knew something bad would happen if we went. I tried
Yeah.
so hard to convince him that
You did see
the
that
dare was
skeleton
stupid
monster.
and to not go in, but he refused to be labeled as a chicken and continued with the dare.
Yeah. If you are a chicken, you're
Evan's eyes
scared.
began to water as he continued with his story. I never saw him again after that night. I kept calling his house, but his parents still couldn't find him. We put up flyers, billboards, but we never
was
had
never
any
there.
luck. After a few days, we contacted the police, and I told them about the cabin. Evan began to choke down his tears as he clenched his fist. They found him in the
Poor
basement
guy.
of that cabin, sprawled out on the floor.
He was dead?
His eyes were ripped out of his face. His nose had been removed and his lips were sliced clean off. When they found him, he was naked with an incision in the bottom of his ribcage,
Ugh.
down to his pelvis in the middle of his body. All of his organs were extracted from his body, and to add insult
So
to
he was
injury,
the skeleton
his
that he
genitals were
saw!
sliced clean off. But you want to know the worst part of it all? When the police did the autopsy on the body, they found that he was alive during the whole process.
So that skeleton
Evan winced
monster
as he
was
remembered
stayed
the whole
as
gruesome
prisoner.
sight and said, they never found who or what did it. There was no DNA evidence to convict anybody. They didn't find the tools that made the incisions, and they didn't find anything.
I know it is tough losing a
Evan
friend,
clenched
man.
his fist tighter on the table before the old man, listening to our conversation, put his hand on Evan's shoulder to reassure him that it was going to be all right.
Yeah.
As he comforted Evan, he looked at me and said, "People have been disappearing from the area for decades.
Exactly.
Maybe even centuries for all we know, but the bodies always end the same gruesome way. I don't care who
Is
you
he like
are.
the guy's parents?
No one deserves something like that happening to them. They should just torch that damn place to the ground."
Yeah.
The old lady joined her husband's side and looked at me with the most foreboding face I had ever seen.
Ooh.
"If your story is true, you should consider yourself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
Yeah, because you
In all
survived
my
that
years of
night.
living, you are the only one to go into that cabin and emerge alive," the woman said, gripping onto her husband's hand tightly as she spoke to me. After hearing the old woman's words, I realized that Evan said the body of his friend was found in the basement, which would explain why the monster's
But he was
voice
in the
kept entering.
closet.
It
Wasn't
would
he?
have pulled me into the basement if my phone hadn't gone off. I quickly paid for my items and left the store, more troubled now than I was when I entered.
Yeah.
Feeling drowsy due to the lack of sleep and constant adrenaline rush caused by the whole terrible ordeal, I decided to go to a hotel and spend my day sleeping and relaxing to get my mind off things.
Yep. You
That
do
night,
need to spend some
I
time
sat on the
there.
bed in my hotel room and looked at the two items that saved my life.
Yeah, of
In
course it
one
was the
hand,
phone.
I gripped onto my ski mask, which hid my face from that terrible monster. In my other hand, I held my cell phone, which scared away the horrible beast that could have killed me.
Yeah. And
I
it
decided
was the
from that day
light
on,
that
I would
shined
always
in his
wear my ski
face.
mask to bed. It saved my life. That's the least I can do for it. The recent brush with death I just experienced had taught me that life is far too precious to waste, so I decided to ask my best friend Samantha out on a date, and things worked out perfectly.
Really? Huh.
Samantha and I were together for 2 years before I recently asked her for her hand in marriage, which she said yes. Part of me will never ever forget
So you
that
asked her
awful
on
night.
Christmas time.
And because of it, not only have I been wearing my ski mask to bed every night since then, I've also made it
Yeah,
a
you do
priority not
need
to
that
live
to
in any
protect your
type of
face from
house
that
that has a
monster.
basement. As an added safety measure, I started locking every door before going to bed. It's a pain, but you can never be too careful. Despite these crazy precautions, Samantha has accepted my little quirks and has continued to be supportive as we continue our journey through life together.
Yep.
I couldn't be happier with the way things turned out in my life, and I'm so lucky to be with Samantha.
Yep.
Everything's perfect.
At least you have
There's
Samantha
just
to be
one
with
thing
you
that bothers
to protect you.
and I
What is
think I might just have to blame my imagination, but sometimes,
What?
when I wake up at night, when it's really, really quiet,
Yeah?
sometimes I'll hear soft scratching noises. Also, and I think it's
Thunder
just
noises?
paranoia, but I swear, sometimes I hear
And that
something
one looks like
whispering.
Pac-Man.
No face.
It's that
From
monster
inside
again.
my closet.
Is that it? Okay, that's it. Yeah, it's probably, we do get the point where there are monsters in your closet and they try to haunt you, try to scare the living crap out of you. Yeah, pretty much monsters do that, yeah. Yeah, and I was hoping that it wouldn't just be a story, but just go with what is going on and that creature just showing up. Yeah. Yep. I would have the same feeling if a monster tried to attack me. And thank you, Big Rob, for sending me this request. Once again, guys, thanks for watching, and ahoy!